I'm Debra and we're here at the Colony Hotel in Palm Beach. Today, I'll be talking with representatives from two local outreach organizations that you need to know more about. They are changing lives, and I hope this program inspires you to make a difference too. 211 is a community nonprofit hotline whose mission is to make lives better by giving support, offering hope, and creating connections all day, every day. Just as you would call 911 for an emergency, thousands of local people of all ages call 211 for guidance and emotional support. Today I'm here with Patrice Schroeder, Public Information Officer for 211 Helpline in Palm Beach and the Treasure Coast. Patrice, thanks for being here with us today. Patrice, 211 has been providing services for our local community for over 40 years. You say you're in your fifth decade, proudly. I know that 911, obviously, everyone knows to call, but 211, I'm not so sure how many of our viewers really know what 211 provides for their community.
And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do. Just getting the word out about 211, it's crucial and actually critical now. There are so many people that are overwhelmed, they just don't know where to turn, and we're that starting point, we're that call, that linking point to all those resources in the community.
Mm-hmm. So 211 is actually a service to the community that helps to navigate them through whatever it is that they're going through.
Yes, it's more than just giving out phone numbers. Mm-hmm. Our staff are warm and caring and provide quality service. They really listen to what the caller is going through. Each caller is unique in their problems and the services that they require.
Well, I really wanted to do this story because I know that you were telling me you have between 450 to 550 calls a day. That's a lot of calls.
Yes, it is.
So what are the majority of these calls that are coming in?
Well, right now, because of the economic climate, a lot of people are out of work and they're looking for basic rental, utility, mortgage assistance. And it's really important that if a viewer is in trouble with their mortgage that they call us right now, because there is assistance for that to keep them from going into foreclosure. Now's the time to call. But people are also calling for the basic necessities: food, clothing, shelter. 24 hours a day we're getting those types of calls.
So the majority of the calls right now of those 450 to 550 are for housing reasons, food, and just basic
utilities,
needs.
Paying their rent, paying their light bill, paying their water bill.
Mm-hmm. Now, has that changed over the years? Because I would imagine that with the economic crisis that we've been in over the past, decade, on and off, yes, people have had trouble. Is that different than it was, let's say, 10 years ago?
I would say that we are seeing more complicated calls, many layers to a call. They're not just calling for one specific purpose. They have multi-problems going on in the household, needing multiple services.
Right, because you're a person at risk now, because
yes,
you don't have a house, you don't have that comfort of your environment for your children, the safe environment. So they need a safety net. So would you say that you are like a safety net for these people? Well,
we're that warm, caring voice at the other end of the line, and sometimes that is all they need, just somebody in their corner. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes we will do creative problem solving. There may not be a resource available, but we will help shift something to this location. If we can get you into a food co-op, perhaps there'll be money to pay this. If we can get you into the food stamps, perhaps you'll be entitled to the free phone service mm-hmm. that's out there. So it's just, every situation is unique, but over and all, we're finding more of a sense of this emotional piece going along with the phone calls. Mm-hmm. They're distressed and they don't know where to turn, and we're that first call.
An age group, do you know what age group is mostly calling you?
Well, I have the breakdown. Basically, seniors make up about 20 to 25% of our phone calls. Mm-hmm. And here in Palm Beach County, we find that families or individual callers with children make up about 33% of the phone calls. So it's, and everything else in between.
I worked for the Salvation Army for many years, and we say there's a new face in homelessness now today in our county. Yes. And that is very true. I mean, you have more families that are displaced than ever, I would imagine.
Yes, and the school district itself, one of the largest providers with children and families, they really have quite a few numbers of children that are now homeless, very high numbers. One of the quotients they use is that free and reduced lunch, they have 70,000 children on that. Of that, 10% are considered to be homeless. So we have a large percentage of children. They could be in foster care. They could be children that are living out of cars with their families. They could be unattended youth, youth that have left home for whatever reason and are now looking for help. And the school district does have a wonderful HEART program also to help those families.
And so you work directly with the school district to help.
Yes.
And that's wonderful.
Yes, and anybody calling in off the street. We also have a new Lewis Center here that is relatively new to help families that are homeless. And there are some other resources, but not nearly as many as we do need.
Now, the Lewis Center is really the main place locally for anyone to go that really needs shelter. They have to, I know I've been there, you have to line up in the morning, get there early, and get your name in for that day's list.
It's almost by appointment only, and it is kind of complicated. It's a work in progress, and we all know that we need to kind of do a little bit more there, but we do what we can with what we have. But the county is doing a wonderful job with that, with the resources they have. But the face of homeless, it's not the person in the street corner reaching out for money. Like you were saying, it's the families that are tucked away under the bridges, living out of their cars. And the other population I'm concerned about are the seniors. They're not paying their homeowners fees, they're not paying their assessments, and they don't realize that could help them to lose their home, unfortunately, if they're not doing those things that they need to keep up with their bills.
Right. Well, talking about the different age groups that we have elderly people who are also homeless, and you have a Sunshine program that I heard about that I heard is wonderful. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we actually have two programs that are really great for seniors. The first you mentioned, Sunshine, a wonderful daily phone call reassurance program. We are calling about 500 seniors every day throughout the 5 counties that we serve to help them, to see how they're doing throughout the day, to make sure they're okay. So they get their phone call, a quick little hello, make sure everything's okay, and then they're about their day. It's wonderful. It's a free program. The senior must be over 60, or they could be housebound, and we're there to make sure that they're getting the things that they need also. And this program, a lot of the seniors, like you mentioned, they don't have anybody locally. They are isolated. So this is a great thing for them.
And it's kind of like someone checking on them to see that they're okay, which is such a comforting feeling, knowing you're alone, but yet someone cares enough about you to see that you're okay.
And we do care. And we've saved lives with this program. We've had individuals that had fallen in the night, and we called and got the emergency personnel out to them. We had one gentleman that was actually having a stroke as he was on the phone with us. And we had several staff members working to get emergency crews to him as well, and it turned out to be a real happy ending with that. But it is a great program. It's free, and we really encourage seniors, if they know of somebody or if they themselves would like to receive a Sunshine phone call, to pick up the phone and dial 211 and ask about that program.
Now, you also, deal with something that is right now very prevalent in the schools. A lot of young people are threatening suicide. There's bullying going on, cyberbullying. So this is no longer an adult on the other end of that phone necessarily for that suicide call. Tell us about your suicide hotline and how that really has changed over the years and what you're doing to staff your organization properly to handle that.
Yes, as we mentioned, in the times that we're experiencing right now, a lot of people are overwhelmed, and that also translates into teens and children. They're feeling the pressure in their families, their households, they're struggling, and sometimes they don't want to burden their parents by reaching out and speaking to them. Sometimes they just don't know where to turn. We are a safe place for them to call, non-judgmental, unconditional, any time of day or night. If a teen feels they're overwhelmed, they're struggling, it could be a family situation, it could be, like you mentioned, bullying at school, it could be gang activity, it could be a host of things, pressures at school, they can reach out and call us. We also have an instant message program for them. They could go to www.aim.com and instant message teen 211 PBTC to also get assistance.
Okay. Well, now, so if you're watching and you're an older person and you need some assistance, you can call 211.
As well.
If you're a person who is struggling with your finances and your housing, you can call 211. If you're a teen or anyone who's, even thinking for any moment that they want to leave this earth, no decision is more final than that decision. So pick up the phone, call 211, and get the assistance that you need.
We know there are a lot of people, because of their the problems that they're facing, they may be self-medicating. There's a lot of substance abuse going on right now. It could be alcohol, it could be illegal drugs, it could be legal drugs used illegally. We want you to reach out to us as well. There are programs that can help. Because basically when a person self-medicates, they're not getting that assistance for depression. They're not getting the proper mental health care. And of course, everything will snowball and take them in a whole different direction.
Right. That's why I know the people who are calling look completely different than we think they do. Because it's all people. Anyone can pick up the phone and call your hotline, because so many people are abusing prescription drugs right now. It is an epidemic in our country.
And you know, it could be somebody that has a multi-million-dollar home that is struggling. They may have a parent that has Alzheimer's. They may have a wife that has a substance abuse issue. They themselves may be struggling emotionally or mentally. Maybe they have cancer and would like a support group. So it really, the things that we're experiencing now across all borders.
Right, and there's no shame in picking up the phone.
No shame.
Is it an anonymous, like, can you be anonymous? Okay, that's important
a person can call us. They don't have to give us their name, their number, any information whatsoever. We do like to ask for some demographic information to share with our funders, because we are a private nonprofit and we want to show some stats. But for the most part, it's confidential. It's non-judgmental. They can remain anonymous, and they can also query for someone else. Gee, I'm concerned about my mother, my father, my brother, my friend. My best friend is making suicidal comments. What can I do? So like anything, you know, mental health is just as important as physical health. And when we reach that place where people struggling do not feel the stigma to reach out, but we're working towards that. So pick up the phone and dial 211 if you would like to talk to somebody.
You also have a special needs hotline. Tell us a little bit about that and who you're helping and what kind of needs are you addressing?
Well, we felt that there was a gap in service, that there are a lot of families out in the community that are overwhelmed, struggling with children with disabilities, and we wanted to be able to impact their lives in a better way. So our 211 Special Needs Helpline is geared towards families that have children birth to 22 with a disability. It could be a physical disability, an emotional disability, or they could have ADD, they could have autism, Asperger's. So we're there to help them navigate the maze of services. It's very confusing, it's very overwhelming. We wanted to make it easy and simplify the process for them.
That's wonderful. So you're really impacting the community and hearing what the needs are of our community. I think you're doing a wonderful job. I'm so happy to have met you, and I hope that anyone that is watching, picks up the phone if they need help or they want to help.
And just simply dial 211.
Dial 211.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. All day, every day.
Thank you
so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
There are 1,700 children in Palm Beach County who need an advocate. Guardian Ad Litem is a state agency comprised of trained volunteers whose mission is to give an at-risk child a voice, a chance at a safe, healthy life. Imagine being a child alone, without your mother or father. Imagine being a child without a guardian. And now I'm here with Kristen Solomon, Circuit Director for Guardian Ad Litem in Palm Beach County. Hi, Kristen. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So important for our viewers to really understand what you're doing and how you're impacting our community. So tell us, if you don't know what Guardian Ad Litem is, tell us about it.
Sure. The Guardian Ad Litem program is an advocate for children. We're a state agency, and we're appointed by the courts to represent our most vulnerable children, those that have been abused, abandoned, or neglected. And they're now a part of the court system. I mean, a completely unusual place for a child to be.
Right. So these are volunteers that are court appointed in our community that are actually being a voice for a child that otherwise would not have a voice. And so this is very, very important. The age of these children go from what?
From birth up until 18, and then once they turn 18, if they choose to remain in foster care till they're 21, we'll remain with them until that age.
Right, because now the court has changed that ruling that you don't age out at 18 anymore. As of January 1st, I'm very happy to hear that a child of 18, and you're still a child at 18, can stay in with the foster family they're with, until they're 21 if they choose to.
Correct, if they choose
So
to.
that is a gift all of us can now say we can sleep a little better with at night. So talking about the children, now you are, you're alone in this world. You don't have obviously your parents because they're either in jail or they have a drug problem or they are deceased or a number of other reasons why they're displaced from their home.
Correct.
And they don't have any other family to care for them. So tell us a little bit about that process. The child gets, where do they live? I mean, I don't really understand where they are during that time.
Yeah, they can be in a variety of places. If the abuse is significant and it's no longer safe for them to remain in their home, they are removed and they're placed into the foster care system. And that can look like many different things. It can be an individual foster home with traditional parents. It could be a group home. And it could be even stricter if there's significant needs. I mean, you're talking, I have some kids that are in residential treatment centers, which are lockdown mental health facilities. So it can be any range from that. But we also have a lot of wonderful relatives that step up, and even non-relatives, family, friends that'll come up and say, no, I know this child extremely well. Don't put him with strangers. And they'll step in and ask for placement of that child
To
while
become
the
the
parents are
guardian
working.
during that time of
Correct.
transition. Okay.
Correct.
So now they don't, let's say this child doesn't have that luxury of having someone who's a neighbor or friend or someone who
Right.
knows them. We have volunteers, 500 in Palm Beach County.
Correct.
They call them gals, which I love.
We do.
You don't have to be a gal to do it. You
No,
could be
you
You
don't.
could be a man
Nope.
as well. And 500 volunteers now are helping these children to have a voice. So tell us a little bit about how you become a gal or a guardian ad litem and what your responsibilities are.
Sure. You just have to make a phone call. That initial phone call will get you in our door. You do have to undergo an interview process with us and a level 2 background screen. And that's what's very important for everyone to know. You have to be at least 21 years old. And that's just that life experience, that maturity level to be in there making lifelong decisions for a child. The level 2 background screen is very important for us to ensure that those adults that we're putting in a child's life are not going to harm them further. Then they go through 30 hours of training, and that's with my staff and community partners. We come in and train them about the system, what their roles and responsibilities will be, and then we're going to pair you up with your supervisor. You're going to have a supervisor that's on staff and a best interest attorney. So it's really great because you're going to have 2 individuals that are going to help guide you along the way, and then you're off, and then each child is different. School-age children are going to need a lot of help and advocacy in the school system. Going to those school meetings, meeting with the teachers. Younger kids, we're going to really be talking with developmental specialists. Are they meeting their targets? Are we rolling over at the appropriate age? Are we walking when we should? Are we babbling the way we should be? And then those older kids is really advocating for that transition part of their life. Are we preparing them for adulthood? Are they ready to be on their own? So as the child goes through those milestones, your advocacy changes to meet their needs. And then you're going to come in and tell the judge, is it safe to go home yet? Are they getting the right services? Are they in the right educational system? And it's really just, I always say this is a unique opportunity because you get to view the child in a holistic way and really ensure that all aspects of that child's life is being met, and we're doing the best we can in all areas.
And this is, something that is so challenging but so rewarding. So if you take that time and make that call, I mean, you really could change a life. Right. So now tell me this. I want to be a guardian ad litem. Okay. How long does this whole process take? And for someone like me, if I did this, I would never want to let go of that child because first I would feel that they trusted me and now I'm going to leave them as well. So that whole thing about trust and being abandoned would just be once again in their life. So I wouldn't want that to happen.
Right.
So tell me how that happens. We start off, I decide to do this, I go to the training, I go to court, and then the case ends. And what happens?
Well, the case ends, and that's usually anywhere from 12 to 18 months in reality. Some shorter, some much longer. But the average case is 12 to 18 months that you're committing to this child's life, day in and day out. And like you said, you're really going to make that bond and that connection with this child.
And it's based on a case-to-case basis.
It
because
is.
If the child's, 2 months old, it's a totally different picture than someone who's in high school.
Correct.
So.
And, so that's kind of different. But for younger kids that are going to age out or, terminate supervision with their parents or adoption with, adoptive parents, it's really up to the parent whether or not they're going to continue to allow that volunteer in the child's life. Older children, they're lifelong connections with these gals. I mean, I have kids that I've been working with for years that are 22 years old, and they still call, hey, can we meet for lunch, or this is what I'm doing now, and I just wanted to let you know I got a new job, or I'm graduating college.
Which is so wonderful. I mean, this is the first time someone maybe took them fishing, or someone read a book to them, or helped them with their homework, or took them to a doctor's appointment. These children probably never even had that luxury before. Well, you know what I'm thinking as we're talking is that, you know, probably the age that you get a lot of these children is school age, because that's when people notice that there's a problem. But the infants to, let's say, preschool, you're not really going to get that opportunity to know, unfortunately, that there's something going on unless a neighbor says or someone calls, you know, the agencies to report them. So do you find that most of the children that you have are of school age, grade school children?
Most of them are grade school. Infants that we get tend to come straight from the hospital because they're born substance exposed, or because they've entered the hospital because of shaken baby or some traumatic event that's put them into the hospital.
And does that happen often?
I wouldn't say, it's not often, it's not every day.
But one time is too many.
Well, one time is too many. But for that age group, those are when you're typically going to see those coming in is straight from the hospital. And if they are in daycare, you know, you're going to have the daycare providers reporting that they're constantly coming in. There's no diapers, there's no formula, diaper rashes that are extensive, they're not clearing up. Things of that nature is what'll trigger the daycare at that young age to let us know that there's an issue.
Now, I know that a lot of these children have to go on medication because of the fact that, and I've done some studies on this, because of the fact that they are so traumatized that there's really no other way for them to sleep. And what happens with that? I mean, does it become a substance abuse problem for these children as well?
It's something that we focus on greatly within the program, is to ensure that these children are not just being placed on meds as a crutch or because nobody wants to deal with the behaviors and the trauma that is stemmed from their abuse. And so you really want to make sure that they're being evaluated by a psychiatrist regularly, that they're in therapy, that we've tried all other options before putting a young child on medication, getting those second opinions. You know, it's great because we have med consult lines that are of no cost to the volunteers and anyone really within the system to call and say, look, this is what somebody wants to put this 6-year-old on.
Exactly.
Do you agree with it? And, you know, before a child can be placed on meds, there either has to be informed parental consent or a court order. So you have that opportunity to go before the judge.
It's going to be screened more than one time.
It's going to be screened. And they have to go every 30 days back to that psychiatrist for an evaluation and review.
Now, do all the children see a psychiatrist?
Not all. Okay. Just if it's determined that there's, you know, a mental health condition or some concerns within that area.
And what about a psychologist? Do they deal with that at all?
Most of them get referred through therapy. And then if the therapist thinks that there's a higher level or more of an issue that they can't control during therapy.
Because all of these children are going to have issues. I mean, if you're separated from your parents at any time, you're going to have an issue with dealing with, you know, your self-esteem, with abandonment, and that goes through a lifetime. I mean, we know, I speak to people who are 95 and they're still telling me how their father never hugged them, and they're 95 years old. So that never really goes away.
No.
But we are dealing with the health, the safety of an abused and neglected child. So this is really, really important. This is life or death for many of these children. How many of the children actually get placed in foster care, and how many of them do return to their families, would you say?
Right now, after they've come into our system...
Because the goal is to get them back with the family,
The goal is to get them home. So 42% of the children that we're on are actually reunified with their parents. And then that other 58% go into a variety of areas. Some age out of foster care, which is our last appropriate goal. It's really not an appropriate goal. Adoption, that's the second goal underneath the statute, is to really find that child a permanent home within the adoptive system.
And then you work with Place of Hope and Kids Sanctuary and things like that.
To really find those individuals that are, you know, have always longed to be a parent. Maybe they couldn't, or they're able to take in somebody else into their home. And they're just really welcoming another child into their life. And that's what's so great, is to find that child that permanent home. And that happens at all ages. I mean, I have 16 and 17-year-olds that are adopted. So it's never too late to, you know, for these children to find that permanent.
And as we all get older, our children grow, and especially in Florida, people live all over the country. So how nice would it be to make a difference in the life of a child when your children are grown? You're at a different stage of your life. You financially don't have to work. It's perfect, perfect fit.
Yes.
who do we see as, what is the profile? If I'm a guardian ad litem, what do I normally look like? Because I know it could be anyone, but who are you getting mostly to volunteer for this?
It can be anyone. I mean, the natural, the majority of statistics are women over the age of 50 that are either part-time workers or retired or stay at home. You get a lot of individuals that are either empty nesters or have older children because now they have more time to dedicate. But we've really tried to focus, especially over this past year, to create that diverse gal group, go after men, because young men that are in that 13 to 18-year-old range, they're going to relate to a man a lot better than they are.
Absolutely, and they need that male role model, which is missing in so many at-risk children's lives right now. And so if you're a young man watching and you're on your own, you're not married, and you have the time, this is a great opportunity for you to really not only make a difference in someone else's life, but to change your whole world.
It really does.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. Really,
it's really a win-win for the volunteers and the child, I feel like, because they affect your life in such a way. You just never really expected that to happen when you become a volunteer.
Exactly.
And we're giving it back to them, and we're being that voice and that inspiration for them, but they really change our whole lives around at the same time.
Absolutely. Well, I know there's a lot of need. I have something I want to read, but before I do, there's a lot of need right now. We have 500 guardian ad litems right now locally, and we have a lot of children in need.
We do.
It's a crisis. I understand that, and I've heard a number of 1,700, so I need you to explain what's happening out there right in our community, right in your backyard. Tell us what's happening.
There's 1,700 children that have been abused, abandoned, or neglected
in Palm Beach County.
In Palm Beach County alone, that are a part of a court proceeding, meaning they have an active case before a judge here. Because of resources, my program alone is only appointed to 1,400 of them. So there's 300 that don't even have staff members on them.
No voice.
No voice.
300 children.
300 children. And then out of the 1,400 that I'm on, only a little over 1,100, which is a great number, don't get me wrong,
of course,
have an actual volunteer. So my staff is working on that other 300 kids. To really ensure
one
that
child
they are
is too much not to have a voice, and you are doing everything that you can. You are really, like I said, you're the circuit director. I don't want you to short circuit because you're doing so much work. And I really have to say, when I give this number, it is not in any way to challenge you. It's more for me to challenge our community and say, please come on board with this. Change a child's life, and it's really, we're not asking for your money. We're not asking for anything but your time, and your heart, really. So that's wonderful. So we're talking about guardian ad litems and how not only will they change someone's life, but it actually will change their life as well. And I got a letter from someone who was a guardian ad litem, and this is what she had to say. I've been a guardian ad litem for almost 3 years, and my story is about Max. Max is now 5 years old, and he has been in dependency system for almost 3 years. Max was removed as both of his parents were addicted to drugs, and the living conditions were unfit for a child and unsafe. Max has been in 8 placement homes in 3 years. 4 department case managers were working with him, social workers, 3 therapists, and 5 schools. But Max has one gal, me. No matter where he's living, where he's going to school, or if he's with his parents or not, he knows I will be there for him. He used to ask, "Will you come back?" And now he says, "When are you coming back?" We need more gals. We need more volunteers. And this woman, who happened to be a woman, said that this child has changed her life. And we can't use Max's real name because he's in protected custody, but we do have a picture of Max, and I hope it encourages all of our viewers to call you and help with whatever it is that they can do. Clothing, shoes, there's a lot of needs. They don't only have to sign up to be a gal, but there's so much that they can do to make a difference. So
much.
How do they do that? Where do they call?
They can call us at 561-355-6224.
Okay, well, thank you so much. You certainly have touched my heart, and I hope our viewers do reach out to you and make a difference.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time right here on Debra.